Ladies and gentlemen, Harrison Hunter Reid is about to come on and blow your mind as far as how you can create more conscious leadership in your life to scale your business, to scale the possibilities and everything that you can create. This dude is tearing it up. You definitely want to stick around. Before we dive into that, though, I want to say thank you for being here, for choosing to be your greatest possible self. I see you. I just acknowledge you for taking one step at a time. That's how you create that massive momentum and success. So keep showing up and keep staying connected with these epic human beings like Harrison, who's about to come on. I'm going to share the iTunes review of the week now, and I believe it's by P. Cully. P. Cully says, great podcast, informative and educational. Love the energy and effort that goes into this marathon. Tune in and see what I'm talking about. P. Cully, thank you so much for that review. If you want a chance to get shouted out on a future 12-hour live stream, go to beyourgps.com/iTunes or search Greatest Possible Self on the Apple Podcast Store. Let us know what you love about the show, what you want to see more of. Give us a review, subscribe while you're there so you can get all the latest episodes and updates. And thank you for being a part of the journey. I'm going to introduce Harrison in just a sec here. Before that, grab a piece of paper, grab a pen, be ready to take notes. I have a feeling we're going to go deep and it's going to be a freaking epic conversation. So stick around all the way through to the end because one idea has the power to change everything for you. Harrison Hunter Reid is a serial entrepreneur, an international speaker, and a world traveler. The purpose of his life is to be radiant love and share extreme abundance and inspire others to feel fully alive. Harrison is an expert in making things easy, actionable, and fun. He helps his students transform their health, take control of their minds, and create enterprises destined for success, all with ease. Harrison went from being fired from every job he ever had to currently running two businesses, and one that is relieving the global obesity epidemic by selling snack foods that satisfy our cravings in a radically healthy manner. The other helps American financial institutions structure their benefit programs to instantly generate substantially more income for both their employees and owners. Harrison previously co-founded an events company when he was 18 years old that generated thousands of dollars for charity, and he's also currently on the advisory board for two charities: Help for Children, which helps prevent child abuse, and National Alliance on Mental Illness, which offers help and support for the mentally ill. And that is just the tip of the iceberg with this epic human being. Harrison, are you ready to bring the freaking heat, bro?
Yeah.
I love
Let's do it.
We are live and become your greatest possible self, Harrison. Thank you so much for being here, man. We're going to dive right into the theme of the day, which is home is blank. And so that means you get to fill in whatever home means to you, man. What does home mean for you, Harrison?
Wow, I think that's a really good question to ask someone like myself who doesn't actually have a house. I live pretty much out of, it's not even a suitcase anymore. I've upgraded to just a backpack.
Yes.
And so
I love it.
For me, you know, the old cliche saying that home is where the heart is really a factor for me.
Yeah.
You know, at first when you give up your house, which I did 9 months ago now, you kind of feel this emptiness, like that you don't belong anywhere. And, you know, after moving around to many different countries over time, you start to understand that, you know, wherever you are is just home, and you just feel at home all the time. And it's a really beautiful feeling. And it's really, you know, helped me fill that space. And just, you know, I always feel myself and comfortable and just excited no matter where I go. I remember I was out of the country for like 6 months. And I flew into the Fort Lauderdale airport for the first time, you know, and I'm not even from Fort Lauderdale. I never lived in Fort Lauderdale, but it just happened to be the first time I was back in the US. And I just felt this like sense of homeliness. And then after that, I flew to Medellin, Colombia, and I got down in the airport and I just felt this sense of homeliness. And so home is wherever the heart is.
Wow, dude, I love it. I was gonna make that the theme. Home is where the heart is before I started the marathon, because like, oh, a lot of people know that, and I was like, and I wanna create an empty space that people can create in and share like whatever it is. So I love it, man. I think a lot of people get caught up with the possessions, with the titles, with the status, things like that over the course of our lifetime that defines us. It becomes a part of our identity. So to be able to release that and go wherever we're at and be able to like be free and not tied down by whatever we've accumulated or experienced up until that point, but to kind of be nobody, to step into a new moment with like tons of possibility, man. I really hear you doing that, and you got your backpack and of course you're like working working in these businesses and helping people grow themselves and health and wellness. It's really awesome, man. I love what I'm hearing. I feel like you are embodying the spirit of millennials and like this new age of thinking where we're not tied down by our job or our career or whatever it might be that defined us in the past. We get to create our reality, man.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a really interesting point, and I don't think it's just millennials. I think the world as a whole is starting to enter this new
Yeah.
realm, this new way of thinking. And yeah, there are two different hemispheres. There's the Eastern Hemisphere and the Western Hemisphere, and by nature we have very different thinkings. The Eastern Hemisphere is more like, how do we find bliss and happiness, and how do we be peaceful with all it is, and the Western Hemisphere is, how do we create success? How do we impart change in the world? How do we make a difference? And the people in the West are kind of in this sort of rat race where they're running around in circles trying to fix everything, and the people in the East are really peaceful and happy and blissful, but things aren't getting fixed and problems aren't getting solved. And I think there's this beautiful interconnectedness where we're coming together, we're sharing ideas, and people are becoming really well rounded, where they could be at peace in the world. They could bring bliss and happiness into their life, because that's really why we're on this planet. And at the same time, they can solve the world's problems so that they'll have a better life, their children will have a better life, and their children's children will have a better life. So I think that this new way of thinking, it's not just unique to millennials, it's coming on throughout the entire world, and it's going to make a huge difference for everyone.
Heck yeah, I love it. I love it, Harrison. So let's dive in more. For anyone who's just getting connected with you, tell us a little bit more about like what do you stand for today? You're working with different nonprofits. You have your different businesses. Like, how would you describe, especially to people who are inspired to be impactful leaders, world changers, people who want to make a difference in the world? They look to you and they say, "Wow, Harrison's doing a lot of things that I want to do." Like, how would you describe what you are, who you are, what you stand for today to those types of people?
I think I really paid for where I am. So, not really as a child, but more in my middle school and high school years, I struggled a lot with obesity. And in combination with obesity, I struggled a lot with depression.
Hmm.
And I remember, like, one day just being so depressed and just thinking to myself, like, man, like all I want to do one day is to be happy.
Yeah.
And, throughout a lot of, depression and just wishing that I was happy, and it kind of all added up. And I think that that's one of my biggest drivers. So I was having a conversation um, yesterday, actually. I'm shooting a video for my company out here in San Diego, and my videographer, he goes to a lot of events, and he went to this one specific event. I won't name the event, but it's an event where like world changers go, like people go who want to impact change. And he said he went to this event and he felt like it was really odd. He goes to a lot of events. He's a very like social and charming guy, and he said that he just couldn't connect to the event, which was really odd. And he felt that it was very transactional and it was very superficial.
Hmm.
And so, you know, I responded to that and saying, like, a lot of people that want to impact change on the world, they kind of grew up in an isolated manner. And this was something that was really near and dear to my heart. When I was obese and depressed, I isolated myself. I didn't have the confidence to be around people. Like, I would get bullied and I didn't want to subject myself to that bullying. And so, all human beings have a need to be like, feel significant. And that's not an ego thing. We just need to feel important because, back in the caveman days and cave women days, if we weren't important, then we weren't protected. And so importance was kind of our like liveliness. And so, for me, when I was growing up and I was isolated, I wanted to feel important. And, in order to feel important for me was like, how can I change the world and make a difference? And, I'm not coming from that same sort of place, but that's kind of where it started. And I think a lot of people that were isolated or had pain or had struggle really set themselves up in order to impact change. But that's not the only way, right? That was my way. That's a lot of people's ways. A lot of people talk about their pain, but pain doesn't make you who you are. It's how you respond to pain. And
Yep.
you could have that same sort of response without the pain. And it's really about finding out what's important to you. And so when you're in pain, it's like right up front. I was obese, like I was in pain, like, and now I'm trying to help people take control of their health and live a more vibrant life. Like, I was depressed, I was in pain, and now I'm trying to, show people how they could be more happy. I got fired from every job I've ever had. I was in pain, and now I'm trying to show people how to be successful. But it's not the only way to do it. And I have an example to share with you. I have a friend named Justin, and Justin and I were hiking a mountain in Peru, and Justin, he's a very interesting guy. He's not your typical like high performer, dedicated to success. He's just this happy-go-lucky, like he goes to happy hour every day. He likes to watch football, and I don't know if he plays video games, but he's not a very like work-centric guy, you would think. But then you hear him talk about work, and he's so smart, and he's clearly so successful. And I'm like, Justin, like, I don't understand, like how did you become this person? And he tells me, he's like, I work for this really big organization. They don't really care a lot about me. I do marketing consulting for some financial institutions, and they don't really care about me. But I really care about what I do, because every day I go into work, I think about my grandmother. And Justin clearly has a deep love for his grandmother. He just says, I think about my grandmother, and she's in her 80s and retired and has no source of money. And so in order for his grandmother to put food on her table, to do the activities she wants to do, to live the quality of life she deserves, she needs certain financial instruments in order to have that income. And so to Justin, he doesn't care about the company he works for. He doesn't necessarily care about the people he consults with. What he cares about is making sure that those people he consults with has good enough marketing to reach people like his grandmother, so his grandmother could eat. And so he goes into work every single day. Like, his grandmother didn't die, right? His grandmother, there's no pain from his grandmother, but he just cares so deeply about his grandmother that he goes into work every day making sure that she could have food on the table. So that's another way that you can sort of boost yourself and start achieving. And what's really magical is once you get that sort of motivating factor, feeding your grandmother, or making sure nobody else is in the pain that you were growing up, things just start happening, and it's beautiful, and it goes really, really quickly. And I wouldn't even recognize myself 6 months ago, or a year ago, or 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Like, actually, here's an example. Like 18 months ago, no, let me take that back. Like 12 months ago, I would watch TED videos or TEDx videos. I'd be like, wow, these guys are amazing. They're so smart. They're so great in their field. That's so cool. They're doing a TEDx. There's no way I would ever, do a TEDx. Maybe when I'm like 45 or like 50, I do a TEDx.
Yeah.
And I did one like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it still baffles me. I was like, I gave a TEDx. Someone allowed me to get up on stage and give his TEDx, and I gave a powerful TEDx. But it's like, once you find that drive, that motivating factor, your why, everyone talks about, things can happen in a very short amount of time that will blow your mind. And like, it's not always going to be that way, right? You're not just going to be like, oh my God, it would be crazy if I was a billionaire and then 6 months later you're a billion. I mean, it could happen. It has happened in the past. It's not likely, but it could. But things start happening really, really quickly. And you surprise yourself. And then you realize, like, oh, that guy Harrison, who was on the, Be Your Best Self podcast that I was watching, who seemed so impressive. I surpassed him, and it's only been like a year since the talk. So things go really fast, and just don't be discouraged, and just find your motivating factor.
I love it, man. With people tapping into their purpose and like that reason why, it could be because of pain in the past, it could be because they want to provide for someone, there's a cause that they're standing for. How does that affect someone's conscious leadership, their ability to lead and create that impact, and really be a great leader for their team as well?
Well, I think that's a good question. I think that's really step number one, right? In conscious leadership, how do you be a conscious leadership? Well, first you need to find something that you care about,
Yeah.
that you want to be conscious about. For me, it's helping people beat obesity, and more than beat obesity. So another thing that I'm really sort of intentional about is the words that I use. And for a
Yeah.
long time, I talked about how, it might even be in my bio still that, I'm starting a company to help combat the obesity epidemic. And there's different energies to different words. And, they're confrontal. There's confronting energy from some words. There's negative energy. There's positive energy. And I really want to focus on words with positive energy that really, boost my internal energy, boost the energy around me.
Yeah.
And so combating the obesity epidemic, it's like, who wants to fight? Who wants to combat? Like, I'm not trying to fight my customers. I'm trying to help them live a better life. And so, a big change for me was when I changed my mission statement from combating the obesity epidemic to helping them take control of their health and live a more vibrant life. Because that's really what I want to do, right? I don't want to fight their obesity. I want to give them a good life at the end of the day. But to answer your question, if I remember it correctly, how does that affect conscious leadership? So, conscious leadership is all about leading with good intentions. And so when you have a strong why, you have good intentions, and, good intentions do a lot for you. They give you energy. And in my sense, in my point of view, I believe energy is the most important aspect of business, right? They say business is 80% execution and 20% skills. And in my belief, energy is the most important thing for you to control in order to execute. Another thing energy does, it radiates out. And so what's really beautiful about leading consciously, well, one, it feels really good, right? But two, it really gets people involved in your mission.
Yep.
And so, when I started out my business, I was having a lot of issues, like a lot of people, with my service providers. We would come to agreement. They would tell me like, hey, you'll have this on this date. This date will arrive, and it'll be nowhere to be found. And I'll send them an email, and maybe they'll respond, maybe they won't respond. I'm like, what's going on? Like, you promised. Like, it's not even me. I mean, I thought for a little bit maybe I'm being overbearing, but then I'm like, they're setting the deadline.
Yeah.
I'm not setting the deadline. I signed a contract. I gave them the money. They should be fulfilling on their deadlines.
Yeah.
And I was in a mastermind in Estonia, and I talked about this problem. It was a mastermind of a lot of different conscious leaders. Really great community, and I brought up this problem, and one of the people in my group, there was a group of three, and this woman named Fran, she said, are you communicating what you're doing? And I realized that was a big part that was missing from my conscious leadership, right? It's one thing to lead from a good place, like really try to do something good, and that allows you to be cool with yourself, right?
Yeah.
So it's much easier to delegate or to tell someone to do something or to bring someone in knowing that you have the right intentions. It's another thing to make it known to the other person that you have the right intentions. It's really important.
Yep.
And so I started doing that. I started in every conversation I had with my service providers and my employees. I started starting off every conversation with, thank you for partnering with us to help those that struggle with weight issues take control of their health and live a more vibrant life. I would end every conversation with that same sentence. I would have that sentence in all of my email communications, and like magic overnight, all of a sudden they all started performing. Even the ones that hadn't been performing for so long, completely did a 180 and like blew me away.
Wow.
And to show an example, so I'm in the food space. We make radically healthy versions of popular snack foods. There's a whole reason why we do that, which isn't important to the story. The importance of the story is in the food business. it's a very difficult business, and there are a lot of people that try to make food products and snacking products, and they call up co-manufacturers all the time, which are people who actually like make product at scale.
Mhm.
And a lot of them either like can't meet minimums, or they fail really quick, and they're big risks. And so if you don't have any connections in the food industry, and you don't really have a known brand,
Mhm.
co-manufacturers stop taking your calls, and it's really difficult to get in touch with them. And when I started to impart this, leadership into my way of being, where every time I would reach out to a new co-manufacturer, I would lead with like, um, "Hi, my name is Harrison, and I'm the founder of Kula, and this is what we're trying to do. We're really trying to make a difference in people's lives, and
Mhm.
we really need your help in order to do that." And I get like a 90% response rate from
Wow.
co-manufacturers, and it doesn't even stop there. I reached out to this one co-manufacturer. Their name is Packmore, and right away they knew we weren't a fit. And with co-manufacturers, like they have certain capabilities, and either your product's a fit or it's not a fit. And
Mhm.
Packmore knew right away it's a fit. But because I led with what we're trying to do and we need their help, Packmore responded with this incredible email, like totally detailing the entire landscape of coal manufacturing, detailing like everyone who I should get in touch with, all of my next steps. And it blew me away because all I said was like, "Hey, we're trying to help people who struggle with weight issues and we need you." And they just like wrote up like a 1 page essay on what I could do. And it was really helpful. But what I did was I was like, "Look, Packmore," the guy's name was Chris. I was like, "Chris," oh, it's just like you. I was like, "Chris, um, when I look to pick my partners, I really look for people who are aligned with my mission. Like people
Mhm.
who know what we're doing and really care about it, because
Mhm.
we're gonna make magic together." And I was like, "Look, Chris, I know you think that you can't create my food product, but could we at least get on the phone and see if there's something we could do?" And
Mhm.
Chris, knowing that there's no way he could make my food product, but cared deeply about the mission that I was talking about, said sure. And we got on the phone and we spoke for like 2 hours, trying every little tiny thing, like, can I bring in this equipment, or can we move this equipment around? And after 2 hours, it still couldn't work.
Mhm.
And then um, after 2 hours, he's like, "Okay, it doesn't work, but now I have a really good idea of what you need. And these are the two people, the exact two people you need to talk to." So,
Wow.
when you find your why and then you make it known to others why
Mm.
you're doing what you're doing, because people are naturally skeptical. They're like, "Oh, he just, sees the valuations of other snack food brands. He just wants to make a quick buck." And it's like,
Mm.
some people do, and that's okay, right? Because they're trying to feed their grandmother or their kids or their mother or their family, or create generational wealth. I really care about the mission. It's for me, it's mission first, and
Mhm.
that's another thing that's really important in conscious leadership is how do you measure your results?
Mm.
And so I don't think I finished my last story, um, but I'll just go into the next one. In December, I was taking part in this goal setting exercise, actually in the U.S. in
Mhm.
Florida. Um, I was taking part of this goal setting exercise where you're supposed to set goals for 2020, and you're supposed to choose three, and then you're supposed to share it with your group in like an excited state, as if it already happened,
Yes.
because it like rewires your brain in order to be like ready to go.
Yes.
And so, one of my goals that I wrote down was, I wanted Kulas to make $2 million in revenue.
Yeah.
So I wrote it down. It was my turn to share. I got up and I said, "I want Kulas." And then I just stopped and I froze because it didn't excite me. Like,
Mm.
yes, I'm in this business to be successful and to, have a better lifestyle, make some more money. But the money wasn't what got me up in the morning. And so I crossed it out. My group is like, "What the hell are you doing,
Mm.
Harrison?" And then I came back and I was like, "Kula will help transform 2 million lives in 2020." And I'm just like filled with energy.
Wow.
And so it's really important that if you're going to do conscious leadership, to find your why, to make others know of your why, then to also measure your results that in alignment with your why. I thought it was enough that I'm trying to do good,
Mm-hmm.
and if I do $2 million in revenue, that means I'm doing a lot of good, right? But no, you really have to measure your results in how much good am I doing. And yeah, the revenue is important, right? You're still running a business. If you don't understand the numbers, and you don't run your company like a business, it's not going to be around, and you're not going to be able to do the good you want to do. Like money is important, it's really helpful
Right.
in order for you to achieve certain things. But if money is the number one thing you're looking at,
Hmm.
then you're never really going to be focused on what you're creating, on the
Yeah.
people that you're trying to help.
And what I hear, Harrison, this is freaking gold, by the way. I want to recap this. The money, when you put that into the goal, like for example, if the money, the $2 million, was in the one sentence statement of everything that you do, and you communicate that with everyone, then that's not going to be as impactful for you personally. And I think the majority of people, it's not so much about the money, it's about the difference that we can make, right? It is about the money, and it's more about like who are we really impacting, the lives that we're impacting. So if we want to be able to measure that, like what is the quantity of the actual impact of the people's lives changed, of the amount of the solution that is really going forth into the world, man. I really love what you're saying here. I think it's so profound for people to get it and to embody this, man. I want to know for you, like what is the distinction of just like thinking about a why, because I know there's a lot of people who've done a ton of personal development in the audience, thinking about it, having brainstormed about it, maybe even having it written down somewhere. The difference between that, being aware of it, and embodying it and owning it and living it, like being that mission in all that you do. Like how did you make that switch, or how would you recommend people make that switch of, hey, this is just a sentence that describes my life, into this is me in everything and all that I do?
That question is really important for people to understand, and just to leave your audience in a little bit of suspense, I actually want to touch on something before I answer that question. And so, what you were just talking about really, reminded me of something. You were saying how, I'm not driven by money, and a lot of people aren't. And, one thing that I just want to touch on that people kind of forget is nobody really wants money, right? They
Mm,
want what money gets you.
yeah,
And so until you realize, like, what benefit am I trying to get from the money,
yeah.
you're never really going to be, well, sorry, let me rephrase that in positive energy words. Once you figure out the benefit that you're trying to get from money, then you're able to be more aligned in your motivation. Because if you're just
Mm,
chasing paper, it's never enough. I mean, I come from the finance industry. Half the finance industry is just like, I just want a bigger number. And it's like,
yep,
why?
yep.
Feed my ego? No, no. Like, the reason to get money is to feed your family,
Yeah.
to, do more really interesting experiences, to change and better the world. Like, those are the reasons why you should be getting money. And once you
Mm,
get clear on those motivating factors, then the money just flows in. When you stop
mm,
focusing on it so much, it just comes with ease.
yeah.
And that reminds me, you know, I had a whole weight loss journey. Actually, I had a weight loss journey like 4 different times in my life,
Hmm.
because, I didn't really get it right until I was, in my early 20s.
Hmm.
And, I used to work out at this gym, and I was really friendly with a lot of the trainers. And one of the trainers, Phenom, that's what he called himself, Phenom Fitness, really awesome guy. But he went through his own transformation, and he was talking to me in the midst of my transformation, and he was saying, for a long time, like every day, he would lift up his shirt and look to see if the abs were there. And like
Mm,
days and weeks and months would go by, and they would never show up. And he was like, it stressed me out. And like I felt like I was never getting anywhere. And he's like, one day I was like, you know what? I'm just no longer gonna look. And then all of a sudden, like he had a six pack.
wow.
It's like if you focus so hard on what you're trying to get, like money,
Mm,
or abs, right? Because you don't even want abs for abs. You want
yeah.
abs for the benefit you get, which is, having more money, fitting better into your clothes, being more visually appealing, like all these different things you get from abs. It's not really the abs that do it. You have abs, right? It's just hidden.
Right.
And money's the same way. And so, if you really get clear on what you want, and stop just like focusing on what's going to get you what you want, it's a much easier, more stressful process. But to answer your question, to go back to it, thinking about your why and how do you embody it every day? I mean, that's a loaded question. There's a lot of things that I do. I mean, one of it is just saying it all the time, right? So every conversation I have, I say it twice. Every time I'm reaching out to someone new, whether it's a retailer, a co-manufacturer, a marketing partner,
Mm.
a farm, any communication that I have, I lead with my mission.
Yep.
And so think about a mission like it's so deeply entrenched in me. There was a month ago, I was having a call with this woman who, I was interested in having as a co-founder of
Mhm.
mine because I think she's just really special and smart and fascinating. And I was talking about my company, and I could see the value that she would bring to my company, and my company would bring to her. And I started to tear up because it was just like, wow, I could see this woman and me like really building this successful company and helping so many people. Like that's how passionate I am about my company. But it didn't start there. It didn't even start close to there,
Mm.
right? Like when I started my company, um, I was depressed with my original job for a couple of different reasons. Um, I was depressed and I was looking for something new to do. And I had been obesity. A lot of friends would always come to me and ask for nutrition advice. And I was like, well, I understand nutrition. Um, I go to the store and there are no products out there on the shelves that I like. And it's really frustrating.
Mm.
Why don't I just, start a company that builds good products to help people eat healthier? And I was like, oh, that's a great idea. And then just like the more I explored it, the deeper I got, the bigger I saw the problem, the more I understood the problem, the more I understood how unfair it is to people in our society. Like obesity is a real problem, and it's really not people's fault, right? 75% of the US struggles with weight issues, 2.1 billion people worldwide. Like, if it was everyone's fault, the problem wouldn't be so big. Like, there are a lot of factors that inhibit people from being able to lose weight. It's not impossible, right? Anything is possible.
Right.
You can totally lose weight. But there's just a lot of things going on that make it difficult. And so, once I started to see how difficult it was for people to lose weight, and I saw it firsthand, right? Because I did it. And it took me like 10 years. Then I started to really get, empathetic for the people, really care for them, and really want to change.
Mm.
And so that passion that brings me to tears. I've cried several times talking about my business and just the work that we're trying to do for people. And that was just built over time from focusing on what we were doing, starting with our why. Right, my why from the beginning was to help people, eat healthier, and I never lost that. And that's really important. A lot of people get caught up in the production of the product. Like, our product, we were told it should be ready in 4 months. It took like 16 months because we were so strict on what we wanted, because it was about helping people. And any little change to our product would, inhibit that assistance. And we didn't want that. And so if you're really clear on your why and you stick to your why, you're just going to over time start understanding like how important your why is to the world. Like nobody's why. Like if you're sitting there and you think, oh, my why is not that important, like, oh, I'm not trying to help 2.1 billion people. If you have a why, it's important. And the way you know that it's important is if you just keep exploring it, and you'll just see more and more clearly how much the world needs whatever why that you have, and that'll just fuel you every single day. Another thing that I do is every night before I go to bed, I sort of envision what I'm doing. And so, I do this for a couple of reasons. One, Thomas Edison was a big proponent of this. While you sleep, your subconscious does a lot of work. And so Thomas Edison said that he would never go to, it was a waste of a night's sleep to go to bed without asking your subconscious a question that you're having trouble answering, because your brain is working all night on, what you last think about. And so for me, one of the big things that I do is every night before I go to bed, I do an envisioning exercise of all my different projects and why I'm doing it, so that while I'm sleeping, my brain can think about, all the people out there suffering from obesity that really benefit from, our company's help.
Mhm.
And I wake up and my brain's like, shit, like we gotta get to work. There's so
Go
many people
time.
out there.
It's go
Yeah,
time.
like it's go time. Um, another reason why I do that, and this is just an aside, is when you travel a lot and you go to a lot of events and do stuff like I do, as much as you try to keep a routine, you're gonna, sometimes you fall out of it.
Sure.
And so, a big problem for me was, I would fall out of routine. I would forget like where each of my businesses are at in accordance to where they need to go.
Mhm.
And I would start to get really stressed and I would lose momentum. And so this envisioning exercise every night that I do it, it allows me to keep tabs on all my businesses and remind my mind that like stuff is moving.
Yeah.
You have momentum. And so I got rid of the stress and I'm more effective at work because momentum is really the key to doing anything.
Dude, I love it. You mentioned adventuring around the world, traveling around the world there. What impact has that had on your ability to articulate, embody, and execute on your mission?
I think traveling around the world, it has a lot of benefits, and I think a lot of it's really funny. I had this conversation probably about a year ago. I started traveling 9 months ago. I had the conversation a year ago, and my friend Serge, who had traveled around the world, after college, he told me like how he thought everybody should travel around the world, and I was like, that's ridiculous. It's like what could you possibly get out of traveling around the world? Everybody should travel around the world. It's just there's so many benefits that you get. One of the main benefits, actually, here. So to me, I think the most valuable benefit I got,
Mhm.
which impacted all areas of my life, especially my leadership,
Mhm.
is when you travel from city to city, from country to country. I've
Mhm.
been in, I don't know, 10 countries in the last 9 months, maybe more, like 13 countries. Been in a lot of countries. Traveling on an airplane is kind of, I mean, it's gotten really easy, but it's kind of a pain. And like the secret to traveling on the airplane or to traveling from place to place is to try to have as little stuff as possible.
Yep.
So you're just super comfortable. Like I mentioned earlier, like I'm down to just a backpack. Like I haven't been, I don't have a home, but I have a home base. Like I have all my stuff in my parents' house. I haven't been to my parents' house in a month, and I won't be to my parents' house for another like 3 or 4 months. So like 5 months, I'll be living out of and I just have a backpack. And and so every time you leave a country, you think to yourself, like, what can I leave behind? So every time I leave
Mm.
a country, I leave like a shirt, I leave some pants, I leave some sort of like, I left a book behind,
Mm.
when I left Colombia last, you leave a gadget. Like, you're always just thinking about like what is essential and
Mhm.
what is like cool, but I don't need. And like, if I got rid of it, I won't miss it.
Mhm.
Because if you won't miss it, then there's no reason to have it. You only need like what's really essential. And that's how I
Yep.
got down to a backpack. But once you start getting that into your mindset, you start looking at your entire life like that. So, proximity is something that's really big in my life. And, the people you surround yourself with. I'm, very keen on my subconscious, and your subconscious is a sponge.
Mm.
So all behaviors that you see, you hear, you smell, like that gets into your subconscious and you start, becoming like that. So like the music you listen to, like I am very keen on what lyrics I allow in my music. Like
Yeah.
I cut songs out that I love. I love these songs and I cut them out because like I just know the damage is doing to my subconscious. And so
Mm.
anytime I hear a lyric that's not aligned with who I want to be, I hate it, but I cut it out because I know it's for the best. And then I don't end up missing it because I forget about it.
Right.
I do that with like the people in my life, who in my life can I still love, but spend less time with to ensure that I protect my subconscious. And in that, if that sounds like a selfish behavior, in that could also be beneficial
Mm.
to that person. So, for example, I used to have 4 roommates when I used to live in New York,
Mhm.
and they're really awesome people. They've been friends of mine for a really long time, and at a certain point, it was quite obvious that our ambitions were misaligned.
Mhm.
And so when that happens, people tend to do things that, like, not on purpose, not consciously, but they try to hold you back, right? Because they're afraid of losing you.
Mhm.
And so I had to break free of that situation in order to become the person who I became today. And becoming the person who I came today influences them to then break free from their ambitions and
Yep.
become different people, and become more like they want to be. So, proximity is really powerful. But the main point in how, leaving clothing behind in a country impacts your business is when you're always trying to figure out what's essential and what can you get rid of, you start thinking about that way with your business. It's like,
Mm.
what do I do? I don't even have this thought process anymore. Just because it's been so like consciously, like it's all subconscious now.
Mhm.
I don't really do anything anymore that's not essential. But you go back to your business, you're like, okay, what's essential? What can I delegate, and how do I delegate it how do I delegate it yesterday?
Yes.
And what can I just get rid of and forget about?
Mhm.
And that just makes you so much more effective and powerful as a leader.
Gold. Dude, I love it. This is powerful. So I heard there's a lot of benefits to traveling, but that mindset of like, what is the core essential things to carry with me, to take with me, and also when talking about the leadership and being a conscious leader and embodying that, one sentence mission statement, it's like what is the way of being that I want to carry with me everywhere I go, and that like embodying that mission, embodying that what you're wanting to bring forth into this world, what you're committed to doing, like you'll do whatever it takes. You'll stop at nothing. It's like, if I'm to let go of all the other distracting thoughts or all the other thoughts that are like second and third priority and only stay in that most valuable process of thinking, most valuable process and way of being, like what is that? And it's like living from that mission and embodying that everywhere you go. It's awesome, man.
Well, I'd love to touch on what you just said. There's all this talk about purpose.
Mm.
What's my purpose in life? Like, what am I going to do? And I think it's really, people get stuck on that
Mm.
a lot,
Yeah.
because they're like, oh, I need to find my one mission. Like, what's my perfect mission? What can I do for the rest of my life? And it's like, you don't have one mission. Like, there's so many things, like, and missions can be all over the place. Like, one of my missions is to help those who struggle with weight issues take control of their health, live another vibrant life,
Mhm.
live a more vibrant life. Another one of my missions is to bring positivity and love into, my parents' household every time I show up, and give them a better life. Like, I have so many different missions. Another mission is to, be a great partner in, my finance business, and show up when I need to show up. And so people, I think, a lot of times get stuck on, trying to figure out their one mission. And what happens with that is they get stuck and they get froze. They're like, oh, this is not the perfect mission, I can't even pursue it.
Mm.
And the answer is, like, if you care about it, that's a mission of yours.
Yeah.
Start pursuing it, and then you'll find out pretty quick if you want to do this for the rest of your life, if you want to do this for 10 years, if you want to do this for 5 years, if you want to do this for 1 year. And that'll always change as you change, but it's okay. One thing about being a conscious leader, which is really powerful, is, I was having a conversation with this guy Craig, and Craig teaches social entrepreneurship at some university. I forget which one, but he talks about what the difference between a social entrepreneur and a regular entrepreneur, right? Because a regular entrepreneur can solve world problems because they just think it's profitable, whereas a social entrepreneur really cares about the problem. And what he says is the difference is, with a regular entrepreneur, they come up with an idea, a product, a service that the world needs. And they fight tooth and nail for that product or that service to work. And if it doesn't work, it's a failure. A social entrepreneur, they come up with a mission, a new way that they see in the world. And it's like, for me, it's, helping those that struggle with weight issues.
Yep.
And once you have the mission, product ideas and service ideas just flow to you, and you choose one. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't matter, like, because you're not attached to the product or the service, you're attached to the mission. Right. And so you're just going to keep doing whatever it takes in order to achieve that mission, no matter what it looks like. And that's one of the greatest things about conscious leadership and social entrepreneurship, is you can't fail, because you have to keep going. You're just so motivated and urged to keep going that you're going to figure out a way to make it work. And
I want to add to this real quick because I saw today like one of the biggest things that's missing in The Secret, like the law of attraction and stuff. They talk about in Napoleon Hill talks about having a burning desire for that which you want, but what's missing is like this unattachment of when and how it all comes about, right? Like the how that's going to work itself out, but if we're constantly realigning with that vision of, you know, like every time at night you see the world as you want it to be, you see your company like being the interface, being the thing that transforms, the catalyst that transforms that situation, or at least one of them, then the right people, the right circumstances, the right skills, the right everything, resources and alignment, it'll all come into alignment like at the perfect timing. But we just keep showing up in that, hey, this is my mission, this is my mission, this is my mission. And I think that's something a lot of people have a difficult time with, is how did they constantly program their mind to say like, and focus, right? Focus is a big problem for a lot of people because our attention is so distracted and so trying to be pulled in so many different directions. But I also love what you said about our mission is not necessarily just one thing. And if you're getting stuck on trying to find the perfect words for it, then just show up in every conversation. And in that conversation, who are you? What are you inspired to communicate? What is the mission that you're embodying in that conversation? And then, like you said, you'll find out which ones you align with as you repeat them over and over again. You'll feel which ones resonate. You'll feel which ones are your deepest truths. And from that, you just keep going down that rabbit hole until it evolves again or whatever ends up happening.
Yeah, I love it. And you know, for me in life, nothing is forever. And you know that might sound kind of weird to say, but you know, everything is right now. You know, this is my passion right now.
Yeah.
You know, tomorrow I could find out that what I'm doing is just the worst business idea ever, and I don't even care about, you know, obesity anymore. I want to, you know, help more people with their depression.
Right.
And it's like,
Right.
it doesn't make you flaky to pivot. You know, I'm dedicated to living a life of service where, you know, I help people live a better life. And, you know, I have an idea of what it looks like for me today. Tomorrow it could look different, you know. There are things that go in and out of my life all the time. Like, you know, I started a podcast, and, you know, podcasts are really awesome. It just didn't resonate with me. I had a YouTube channel. Like, you know, I made 21 YouTube videos. Like, that takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of energy. It even took money. It wasn't for me, but I'm so glad that I tried it.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that I think is really important about the entrepreneur mindset is that, like, you can't predict the future. Like, you could have a good idea of trends and what's going on, and, you know, what could work, what won't work. But at the end of the day, like in business, in life, it's important just to try everything out, and see what works. You know, try to become an influencer on social media. Try to build a business. You know, try to be a speaker. Like, try to be a coach. Like, try to do all these things, because until you try, you won't know. You won't know what resonates with you. I think that's really important. And I lost my train of thought.
Well, I hear giving ourselves permission to experiment and screw it up, you know, and also like with that now principle, like everything is now, nothing is forever. We're not promised tomorrow, right? Like, who do I want to be today, you know? And I think a lot of people may have built up so much momentum and identity around what they're doing that they're unwilling to pivot. They're unwilling to try something new and go do something different. But I think in that envisioning process, I really want to keep going back to that because it's so powerful, man. Every night, like when we are aligning our energy with what brings us joy, we will feel ourselves come alive in that process. You know, you can just like feel the smile come across your face as you see that vision coming to life. Like, you will get inspired next steps. When you wake up in the morning, you will have downloads. You will have like clarity on, shoot, how did I not see this before? Like, of course, that's the next step to take. And that's all we got to figure out is what's the next step? What are we inspired to do next?
Yeah, that practice changed my life. It was really important. Setting that up. So, you know, what's next? You know, once you have your motivating factor, once you let it be known that you have your motivating factor, once you build that passion, and get aligned, it's really inviting people into your mission, right? That's something that, you were talking about earlier. How about the secret where, you attract the people that you want to attract, and you do, and, when I was, starting out my business, a lot of people were really affected by the mission, right? Everybody either was obese or knows someone who's obese. It's just such a prominent problem that, almost everyone I talk to has some sort of connection or relationship and want to see it solved. And so I was attracting a ton of the right people, and I was missing out on such a vital step of like inviting them in. People would want to get involved, and I'd be like, that's awesome. But I never was like, hey, like, we should do this together. Like, we should partner up in this sort of aspect. I would really love for you to help me, set up this event, or I'd love to, do this, tasting kind of thing. I understand that was like the same sort of example. Or I'd love to create a product with you, or, I'd love to do a cross promotion campaign. That was a step that's super important. It's like, if you're going to do all these great things, invite people to help. Like, people want to help. Like, people love mission-based people. And that's something that's really important. And that's how you scale geometrically, right? So if you think about a business, there are all these different aspects of a business. There's, finances, there's legal, there's operations, there's marketing, there's sales. There's all these different kind of sects of the business. And, as one person, you can't really you can, like, it's possible, but you're going to be a lot more effective with more people.
Yeah.
And so if you can enroll people in what you're doing, I talked about my service providers before, how, I was really having a struggle with them. I was really stressed. They weren't performing. And then, once I came to light, once I aligned them with my mission, all of a sudden they started blowing me away. That translates to the rest of your business. For sales, like in a food company, for example, I could go door by door by door by door and try to get my food product into one store at a time. Or I could partner up with an organization or a charity that has influence on, 100,000 retailers. And I use that number because there's a specific example in my business that we're talking to, but I don't want to share the names. But so instead of going door by door by door, I made one connection, and, she was deeply impacted by the mission, and she could help me get into 100,000 stores. So like, that's where conscious leadership really shows itself in geometric growth. Like, another example is, one of my advisors is starting a honeycomb company, and he believes honeycomb can be a better administration of vitamins and minerals than supplements, and just more bioavailable, which means digestible by the human body. And so that's his mission, to come up with a better supplement that our bodies can actually use, so that we can, solve all of our health problems. And, he brought this to a different honey manufacturer that was just, selling honey to sell honey to make a profit, just like nothing special about it. And they source all of his honey for him. They cut it up for him. They package it for him, and they distribute it to the stores. Like, because he has this mission and he enrolled someone else in this mission, he doesn't even have to think about supply chain. He doesn't have to think about operations. He doesn't have to think about distribution. Like, imagine running a business, at least for me, who's, the entrepreneur, the artist. Like, I care about the product. I care about the sales, the marketing. Like, operations to me is kind of like, someone could actually enjoy, like, setting up processes and stuff. Like, what is going on? So for someone like me to hear that, I could run my business and only focus on making a great product and, marketing it, and I don't have to think about how we're actually getting the product to people, like, how much more effective of a leader would I be without having to think about that all the time? Like, 10 times more effective, which is, why conscious leadership is so important. It's like, I want to preface this, like, I actually don't even want to preface this. If you want to come up with a mission and live out of your mission just so that you could grow a business and make more money, like, you're gonna fall in love with the mission, and you're gonna start living it. So try that, do that. I don't care. Like, I don't care what your intentions are. Get a mission and live and breathe that mission, because it'll come to you. and then we'll have a new leader in our world that is going to make a big difference. So yeah, do that.
Boom. I love it. Harrison, dude, you're on fire, man. We're just scratching the surface with all of this gold that you've been giving us. And I know that you're empowering people, you're doing a ton of interviews. People can definitely find out more about you, learn from you more. How do they do that, man? How do they stay connected with you?
So there are a couple ways. If you're really interested in our food company, I like to start with that because that's what I'm really passionate
Game
about,
on.
and we're
Game
really
on.
going to make a difference. There's this thing about like self promotion, and it's like if I'm offering something, this is conscious leadership, right? If I'm offering something that I deeply in my bones believe is going to help you, how could I not promote it? Like it would be wrong of me not to lead with this service that could really change your life.
Yes.
And so something that's part of conscious leadership is like I could self promote all I want, and it's like because I'm trying to make a difference, and if I don't self promote,
because you're tapped in,
I'm holding back.
Yeah, you're tapped into your mission.
Yeah.
That's fueling you. Like it comes from a pure place, man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you want to learn more about our company, we're going to be launching in the next couple of months. You could go to koohlahs.com, KOOHLAHS.com. You might want to spell that out for people, or I'll spell that out later. I know it's not the easiest to spell name, but we're going to be in stores. You'll see us on the shelf, and it looks beautiful, the name, and you'll be intrigued to try it. If you want to get in touch with me, like me personally, the best places to reach out are Instagram at Harrison Hunter Reid or LinkedIn. And my name on LinkedIn is Harrison Hunter Reid Fisher CPFA. And if you want to connect with me, I'll gladly connect. And if you want to send me a message with any questions, I'll gladly answer them. I get questions all the time after I talk or after I do a podcast, and I'm always happy. Not only am I happy to answer them, like I'm honored, that you took your time to not only listen to me, but then you took the time to reach out and like follow up. Like that's such an honor. Like that shows me like I'm doing a good job. Like I'm making a difference in at least one person's life that's interested in learning more. So please reach out on Instagram, LinkedIn, or go to my website and sign up for our newsletter so that you could be the first to know about when you could get our product into your belly.
Dude, Harrison, you're a freaking champ, man. I love it. Everyone go to koohlahs.com, KOOHLAHS.com, and search Harrison Hunter Reid. And Harrison, dude, you're a champion. Thank you. Thank you for being here and just having a great conversation, man. Love how you're living your purpose, embodying your mission, and sharing with our audience how they can tactically, practically really take steps to doing that. And everyone contact Harrison. Let him know where you're at with your mission. Let him know what you are stepping into, how you're going to use these tactics and this advice and wisdom to really step into and embody your wisdom. Harrison, thank you so much, man.
Thank you. I had a blast being here. I love live shows. Like the fact that you're going to do this for 12 hours straight is like insane, to be honest with you. But it's really awesome, like it's really cool. I really like what you're doing. I think it's unique, it's different, and it's special. People need more of this in their life. Like we're so bogged down with, I know I only have like very short amount of time, but we're so bogged down with all this news, like the coronavirus and presidential election and all this stuff. And it's like the world's a great place. It's getting better all the time. There's so many amazing things. Like we forget to focus on the positives, but you bringing positivity into people's lives and transformational knowledge, you're really making a difference. So thank you.
Thank you, Harrison. I received that. Let's keep being our greatest possible self, brother. I appreciate you, man.